It's always good to get a little beaver in the morning. I wouldn't know what that's like, but so where are we at? Mr. 302, why not talk? So yeah, I gotta kill some time. So my evolution
6 volts, flaps half, flaps down, throttle active, flaps down,
is the following.
flaps up.
I bought the Convergence on a whim, and I was annoyed by it because you can only get about 4 or 5 minutes out of it. I didn't like that.
12.2 volts.
Turns out it flies a whole lot slower than I realized, and you can get, you know, closer to 6 minutes out of it FPV. Really it's a neat airplane. Mine was plug and play, so I stole Zoom and Boom, who later on, by the way, would be a prick on the Convergence thread. God almighty, what a dickhead. Hates my videos to the point to where, you know, he's like, you got to be violating some type of policy posting your boring ass videos. You're not even doing flips or loops or anything in it, and therefore you shouldn't be on here. It's like, screw you, you limey, bad-toothed asshole. With that said, what would eventually happen is that I borrowed his EEP that he posted early on, and man, he did a great job. He even did some experimenting with differential thrust when it came to the tail motor, and I didn't screw with any of that stuff. I'm too conservative in my nature to tear up an airplane. Bad enough I'm hard on him as it is. So I programmed in his stuff, and basically on the, I don't remember the, well here, maybe I can see it, dumbass. Okay, on SB, I programmed in 3 functions from the bottom up. The bottom is multi-rotor stabilized, because I can't fly that bitch in the, you know, in the form of a multi-rotor acro. It is just so bouncy, and I fly a multi-rotor. I just can't do it. I think I saw the Parrot Man in the wobbly box. What's his name? Dale Cheek. I saw him doing either back flips or forward flips in his, probably unintentionally, in acro mode. Anywho, that's multi-rotor acro mode. Never saw him fly it in fast forward flight. So I don't know if I got the nomenclature down right. So multi-rotor mode is like flying it like a quad, even though it's a 3-motor affair. Then you've got fast forward, and you have 2 modes in airplane mode, or fast forward, and that's multi-rotor, fast forward stabilized, which doesn't allow you to turn very steeply. In fact, it'll take a large field to turn. You can bang your stick all the way over, and it's only going to let you rotate over X degree. And then there's fast forward, or airplane acro, which allows you to fly it like a mofo. You can do loops and rolls and whatever it is you want in it. So those are the 4 modes. See if I can go over them. Multi-rotor stabilized. That's how I take off. Multi-rotor acro, full control in the multi-rotor mode, which allows you to do loops and rolls and flips. Airplane mode, stabilized. It will not allow you to bank left or right to any great degree, so it takes a long time to do a circuit. It's highly constraining. It's actually a little unnerving. Then airplane mode fast forward acro, which allows you to fly unrestrained in airplane mode. That's how I fly FPV. So on my switch to the left, I have actually 2 switches, and I'm just pulling this out of memory, and you know, it's difficult to take me seriously because I'm so goofy, but the far left switch, which is SA, I have it to where you can do multi-rotor acro. I'm not interested, or
11.7 volts.
forgive me, multi-rotor, yes, acro. And I'm not interested in using that function. So basically all three of my functions are on SB, which is bottom airplane acro, middle airplane stabilized,
volts.
top multi-rotor. Actually, that's all completely backwards. I think all the way up is multi-rotor acro, middle is plain. You know how it is, you can do whatever you want. Middle is plain stabilized.
11.7 volts.
all the way to the bottom is plain acro. I'll do a little video on it, exemplifying what the aircraft does. Let's push on with my evolution. So I took it out one day and flew it just to see if it'd fly,
11.5
and
volts.
damned if it didn't. So what ended up happening was I was able to land it without any problem. Then okay, let's start out. I hovered in my front yard, and the bitch would drop out of the sky at about 11 volts.
11.5 volts.
We all found out right off the bat that this damn thing has a wonky on multi-rotor mode low voltage indicator. This is important because 11.1 is low, 10.9 it'll drop out of the sky if you're in multi-rotor mode. So you got to use a
11.5 volts.
you got to use a punchy battery. I set mine at just what I told you, 11.1 and 10.9 respectively. You can see in my videos, hovering in the front yard, bitch fall right out of the sky. Just obnoxious. It's about 300 feet.
Volts.
So eventually what happens is now it's time to take it out to the club, and I take it out to the club, and I think I crash it first thing. Luckily it's just tough. And then I FPV it in airplane
volts.
stabilized mode, and I found that I didn't like it. It would not turn the way I wanted it to. It would take the entire field and turn, and that's a forking hassle. So what I ended up doing
11.3 volts.
Was getting some balls and flipping it into acro. That is airplane mode acro. And it turned out wonderfully. You have plenty of control over it. It isn't as sketchy as multi-rotor acro, and it just flew wonderfully. Absolutely wonderfully.
Volts.
So then I got some balls and flew it out here at the lake, and went the furthest I've ever went, which is almost 3,000 feet to that house, way at the distance on the other side of that lake. The other lake.
11.2 volts.
And then eventually I was playing with it out here with a camera on it. And, or did I have a camera? Yeah, I did have a camera, and I wanted to do a low pass next to me, and I forgot that with the extra weight of the camera, what ends up happening is that when you let your right thumb off of the stick, it wants to dive because of the extra weight up front. And I did that flying past myself and crashed the aircraft right into the water about warp 10, broke the nose off, ejected the camera and the battery and the cover. And the funny thing about it is it was not a whole lot deeper than what Miss Ellie is in right now. So I walked out there and picked everything up, let it dry out for a few days, flew the shit out of it. There are some behaviors that it exhibited that I didn't care for. Me and my buddy are standing next to each other, and actually just like my little airplane did here a few minutes ago, the tail rotor started up on it and it jumped up. and I had to catch it.
11.2.